For decades, India's border security relied on a policy of strategic restraint. Standard operating procedure was to de-escalate through diplomatic flag meetings and prevent local skirmishes from expanding into regional conflicts. That restraint ended in October 2014. The Border Security Force, the primary guards along the boundary, found themselves pinned down by heavy, sustained firing from Pakistani Rangers. The instruction from New Delhi explicitly discarded past protocol. Border forces were told to stop requesting flag meetings. If fired upon, they were ordered to respond with full force, specifically to fire 2 bullets for every one they received. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval designed this shift to offensive defense. As the head of the National Security Council, Doval serves as the central point of contact for the state's intelligence apparatus. Intelligence agencies like the IB and RAW report directly to him, rather than the Prime Minister's office. This strategy replaced a reactive posture with a proactive use of military force, establishing a new baseline for how India handles regional conflict. Doval's security posture is the product of 30 years spent in undercover field operations and hostile territory. Before the 1988 assault on the Golden Temple during Operation Black Thunder, Doval slipped inside the complex posing as a rickshaw driver. He spent days gathering tactical intelligence while surrounded by armed militants. In 1999, he was on the tarmac in Kandahar, Afghanistan, serving as a primary negotiator during the hijacking of Indian Airlines Flight IC-814. He spent days face-to-face with the Taliban to secure the release of 155 passengers. The crisis ended in a forced compromise. To save the hostages, India released high-profile terrorists, including Masood Azhar, who later orchestrated a series of deadly attacks against Indian forces. These first-hand encounters with terrorism convinced Doval that a reactive stance invited further aggression, forging the zero-tolerance mentality that drives his border policies today. The second pillar of the doctrine is geopolitical pragmatism, a recognition that military force is not the effective tool for every dispute. In 2020, tens of thousands of Indian and Chinese troops amassed along the line of actual control in Ladakh. A deadly clash pushed bilateral relations to their lowest point in 60 years. Instead of escalating through kinetic action, Doval utilized his role as a special representative to open multi-round strategic talks with Beijing. Working with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Doval negotiated a mutual troop withdrawal and a commitment to restore border trade, diffusing the standoff between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. This framework relies on a calculated choice, applying hard power when provoked, and utilizing pragmatic diplomacy when it serves India's long-term stability. Doval has pushed the definition of national security into a new arena, identifying the technology sector as a critical frontier for the state's survival. To secure this domain, Doval partnered with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to launch the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technology. This agreement integrates American and Indian defense manufacturing, starting with the co-production of advanced jet engines to power India's future fighter fleet. The strategy also targets high-tech supply chains. The partnership facilitates specialized semiconductor fabrication plants in India to produce hardware for national security platforms. The doctrine extends into orbit through new joint exploration missions between ISRO and NASA. This includes advanced technical training for Indian astronauts and ground personnel at American facilities like the Johnson Space Center. By integrating economies and sharing space data, India has expanded its security perimeter to include the high-tech supply chains required to maintain a modern military. Historically, Indian intelligence was fragmented, with agencies acting independently. Doval consolidated these separate entities into a centralized security apparatus. This chart shows the structure of the National Security Council, the primary agency advising the Prime Minister's office on strategic interests. The Strategic Policy Group is the core decision-making body. As chairman, Doval integrates inputs from across the government into a single security policy. The resulting architecture allows the Indian government to synthesize intelligence and military strategy into a single unified response. This institutional framework gives India the tools to project influence across the Indo-Pacific, using its military and technological weight to shape the region's future.